Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today. This is our first week of the Plant and Food module of the Illustrated Earth Sunday School program that we're doing, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun today. We have a couple of games and a project, so let's get to it. Today, I want to have you think about a time when you've had an experience where you were scared or sad or afraid or confused and weren't sure what to do. And when you think about an experience like that, I wonder if what you thought about when you were trying to maybe solve the problem. And sometimes when we try and solve our own problems, we get so focused on how to fix things that we forget that we can turn to God for help. So today, we are going to try and remember that God is there for us at all times under any circumstances. Now, if you have been following along with me with this program, you will remember that in our water module, we talked about the story of when God parted the Red Sea for the Israelites when they were escaping Egypt. Today, we're going to pick up on that story after they have been wandering and searching for some time. And a part of the story is when they got to start being a little afraid and concerned, and that when they went against God's clear direction and took matters into their own hands. So they had a problem, and instead of turning to God for help, they tried to do the solution on their own. So that's what we are talking about today. But before we get into our story, I have a game for us to play. So I want you to sit back and get ready and put your thinking caps on, because these are a series of questions and choices that you have to make. So, okay, let's go have some fun. Okay, today's game, and I think everyone knows this game pretty well. It's called Would You Rather. So I'm going to give you a choice of two things, and you have to decide which one you would rather have. So, okay, let's start off. We'll start off with something easy. Okay, which of these vegetables do you like least? Your least favorite? Is it broccoli or peas? Okay. Which of these is your favorite sandwich? Grilled cheese or peanut butter and jelly? Which of these fruits would you rather eat for breakfast? A banana or an apple? Banana or apple? Where do you usually get your fruits and vegetables? Do you usually get them at the farmer's market or the grocery store? When you're in the kitchen, which do you like to do best? Do you like to bake or do you like to eat? Which of these vegetables do you like the most? Corn or carrots? Of these two foods, and you have to choose one of them, which one would you choose? Would you choose peanut butter and pickle sandwich or chocolate covered ants? Which of these breakfast foods do you like best? Pancakes or omelets? And if you were stranded in the desert, which one of these foods would you take with you? Would you take cheese, bread, beans, or rice? Well, today's story is about the Israelites who escaped from Egypt by crossing the Red Sea with Moses, and they're wandering in the desert, and we're going to be talking about the foods that they ate while they were wandering. Okay, so today's story is about the Israelites and how they came to the Sinai desert after wandering and crossing the Red Sea. They were with Moses and they started to complain because they were getting hungry. The Lord told Moses, "I'm going to make bread rain down from the sky. Each day, the people can go out and gather just what they need for that day. I will do this to test whether they follow my instructions. On the sixth day of the week, they will gather twice as much as the other days." Moses told the Israelites, "Tonight you will see it was the Lord who saved you from Egypt. The Lord will give you meat in the evening and all the bread you need in the morning." After Moses and Aaron was with him spoke, the Israelites turned to look toward the desert, and they saw the Lord's presence appear in a cloud. That evening, a flock of quail are small birds, flew down and covered the camp. And in the morning, there was a thin layer of thin flakes like frost covering the ground. "What is it?" the Israelites asked each other. "This is the bread the Lord's given you to eat," Moses said. "The Lord says to collect as much as each person in your household can eat today. Do not keep any of it until morning." But the people did not listen to Moses, and some of them took extra and tried to save it until the morning. But because they weren't supposed to do that, the bread became rotten during the night and was filled with worms. Moses was angry that the people did not listen and follow the instructions. Each day, when the sun grew hot, the flakes of bread melted away. On the sixth day of the week, everyone was allowed to gather double the normal amount of food. Moses said to them, "The Lord wants you to rest tomorrow on the holy Sabbath. Bake and boil what you want, and you can set aside the leftovers until the next morning." So the people did what Moses commanded, and the bread didn't rot. Moses told them to eat it the next day on the Sabbath. On the Sabbath, some of the people tried to go out and gather more bread, but there wasn't any. The Israelites called the bread manna, which means, "What is it?" And it tasted like honey wafers. They took one serving of the manna and put it into a jar so future generations would see how the Lord fed them while they were in the desert. The Israelites ate manna for 40 years while they were traveling through the wilderness. So I've included in in our little activities resources a recipe for manna, so that if you wanted to try and make some, you could see what it would taste like. And from the descriptions that I've read, it's basically tastes like kind of a honey flavored wafer kind of bread. So I've included a recipe if you want to try and make some. And and I just wanted to ask really quick, why do you suppose that they were told to save some of that bread? And for me, I think it's because God wanted them to remember that He was there for them when they needed Him, and He provided for them. So I want you to think about difficult times and maybe when you might have had something that you wanted but you didn't get exactly, and maybe we're a little grumbly about it, but we have to remember to be thankful and grateful for all the things that we do have. And maybe sometimes those things that we desire or want or ask for are just maybe some little special extra treats that maybe we don't really need to have but want to have. And that makes me think of one of the conversations we had in youth group last year. We had a whole day when we talked about what needs versus wants were, and what we need every day to live a happy and healthy life. And then those things that we want that are kind of like the cherry on top of the sundae that just makes life a little bit more special, but aren't necessary to get through. So that's something that I would like you to think about this week, and to remember to be thankful and grateful for God being there for us and for our parents and everybody who supports us on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so to make the quail and paper fun, you're going to need to print this out. And this is all the pieces that you need for our project today. And before you cut them out, I colored all mine in so that I could be really messy about it and colored outside the lines, because when I cut it, it's not going to matter. So go ahead and color in all the bits and pieces, and then we're going to cut them out and put them together. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do after you have all of your pieces cut out, we are going, this is my practice bird and or quail, and it's going to look like this. So the first thing that we're going to do is make the teardrops. So with this big strip, you'll see this little square down at the bottom, and you're going to fold it over, and that is going to be where we tape it. So we're going to fold this kind of around so that it connects and makes that teardrop. And you can use a glue stick to put glue right there. I lost my glue stick, so I have to use tape. So I'm going to tape all of my pieces together. So we're going to do that for the big one. Then you have the medium-sized one, and again, it has that little rectangle on the bottom. So you want to fold it, and then you're going to bring the other end up and glue or tape it so it makes another teardrop like that. And then you have a third one, the smaller one, again, has that rectangle. You're going to fold it and then bring the other side up and make that into a teardrop. So that's the first thing to do, is to get those three pieces all put together. Okay, so I have my 3 teardrops, which is the body, the head, the wing, and the body, the wing, and the head. And now the next piece that I'm going to do is the beak, and the beak looks like this. And again, it has that little square rectangle at the top, and these are the fold lines. So you're just going to fold on those black lines, and this makes the beak. And the beak is going to be square in the front. That's why you have that small rectangle in the middle. So we're just going to fold on these black lines and then tape it together like we did with the body, wing, and head. Okay, so it's going to end up looking like that. Can you see that? Let me see if I can show you that. Okay, so you want it to look like that. And then the last 2 pieces are the legs. And you can see that on this, let me hold them the right way, they have a small square at the top and then a larger rectangle at the bottom. This is going to be the foot part. So you're going to fold this toward the foot, so you're making a leg, kind of like an L shaped, and that's the foot. and then the top square you fold away, and that's going to attach to the body, so it's going to look like this. Can you see that? Kind of looks like that. So you want to have the legs put together like that. And then we're going to put it all together. Okay, so let's start with the body. That's the biggest teardrop shape that we have. And you will notice that on it, it has two stars. One that's kind of lower on the bottom and this taller one. Now, what these mean are the one that's closer to the bottom of the strip, that's where the feet are gonna go. So when you have your feet ready, you can glue them on either side of that star to give them, to put the feet on, okay? This top one is for the medium-sized teardrop shape, and this also has a star on it, but you don't match these stars up. It's a little bit complicated, but that is for the beak. So you can put the beak on where this star is. So you want to glue that on to the star, and then when that's put together, the star on top of the big one is where the end of the teardrop of the head gets attached to the body. So I will show you what that looks like when I get mine put together. Just take it slow and you'll be fine. All the birds are going to be amazing. Okay, so the last thing to do is attach this small one. Here's my bird so far with the beak and the legs and the head and the body together. The only thing left is to add this, which goes on the inside. And the only way I can describe this is that this end, the taped together end, goes inside of the body, and I'm lining it up with the head. So it kind of looks like that, and I'm just gonna kind of puff it out. So it kind of makes like an infinity symbol or a sideways 8, but I'm pretty sure that any way you design your bird will be perfectly fine. And that is my quail. I've already cut out my ground in the mana, so all I have to do is tape my bird onto it, my quail, and there we have today's activity. Yay. So today was an interesting story about how the Israelites reacted to God's instructions and how he provided for them as they walked through the desert. And there had to have been a level of uncertainty. They were a little bit nervous about what their future holds or held. And with the leadership of Moses and Aaron and the listening and obeying of God's instructions really got them through that difficult time. So with that being said, let's just kind of do a quick recap. And I'm going to ask you a couple questions. So how did God provide for the Israelites in this story? Which is what the story was all about. So the answer should be pretty easy, that he provided them food and water as they wandered through the desert. And my next question is, how might the Israelites, why did they want to take and store the manna and the quail every night, kind of like hoard it and hang on to it, even though God said to only take what they needed for that day? Why would they have gone against that instruction? Do you think that maybe they were a little bit nervous that the next day wouldn't have what they needed to get through, food and water wise? Maybe they were trying to store up and protect themselves. That could be. But they needed to remember to listen to God's instruction, which was to only take what they needed for that day, because he was going to provide for them every day. And I want you to think about a time when do you think God was there for you? When did God take care of you in your life? Or maybe someone that you know in your family or one of your friends. Have you seen God in action and taking an active role in helping you or protecting you or providing something for you. And if you can't think of anything, go grab one of your grown-ups and ask them that question and see what they have to say. See if they can share an experience with you of seeing God in action. And then when you hear the story or you think of something where God was present for you and provided for you or protected you, how did you feel? Or how did you respond to God's care? And was your reaction something that maybe should have been a little bit different, maybe a little bit more thankful, or maybe you just didn't even realize it, and now how could you change or improve your reaction to God for being there and helping you? Those are the things I would like you to think about and talk about with your friends and family this week. How we can be grateful for God being in our lives and providing for us when we need Him the most. Okay. Well, it's time to close out this week's lesson. So please join me in a prayer. Gracious God, we praise and thank you for how patiently and faithfully you care for all of our needs. Please renew our trust in you and your promise to give us our daily bread. Amen. Thanks so much for spending a little bit of time with me again this week. I hope you're enjoying our program, and we have a lot of fun stuff coming up. There's Valentine's Day, and there's Ash Wednesday, and Lent starts, which is a whole family program. We're going to put Illustrated Earth on a little pause while we get through Lent, and we'll pick back up after Easter, and we've got some great things in store. So I hope you join me again next week. Take care. Know that you are loved and special, and I thank you for spending time with me. See you later. Bye-bye.